All right, and welcome back to our show for this morning. It's all about this conversation is all about soursop and soursop training. You know that little green fruit, April, on the tree that your grandma and your granny would have tell you, your grandpa would have tell you, say, you take the leaf and you boil the
and you boil the
leaf,
leaf.
or you eat the fruit,
Yeah.
and there's so much health benefits. Well, we have in with us none other than Mr. Barry Palacio, and he's actually the National Fruit Tree Coordinator for the Ministry of Agriculture, Food Security, and Enterprise. And in our brief discussion with him during the break, he was telling us that his focus is in part on non-traditional fruit trees here in Belize. But this morning, we just want to introduce Mr. Barry Palacio. Good morning, Mr. Palacio.
Top of the morning to you.
How are you, sir?
In the highest of spirits.
You
He ready for talk about sauce.
You have no relations to John Palacio, just checking.
Yes,
Once
they're
is
all
a
related.
Palacio.
Once is a-
They're all related.
Well,
But
you're at
it's
home,
good.
my brother. It's good to have you. Let's first of all talk about briefly about the scope of your roles and responsibilities within the ministry.
Within the ministry, I coordinate the non-traditional fruit trees, and we say non-traditional because we do not have a history of production and commerce. But that is not to say that the species per se are not native to Belize. In fact, most of them are. I coordinate coconut production, pineapple production, soursop, dragon fruit, and passion fruit.
Okay, I have a passion for coconuts. But
I
that's
noticed
another
that
topic.
you've been doing coconut
Stories.
segments for some
Yeah,
time.
I
but
did three stories on coconut
Okay.
production here in Belize
But-
of recent. Well, we're here to talk about soursop.
Soursop.
This green, soft, prickly fruit. Tell me a
Nice.
bit about the history of this fruit in Belize and its production history in terms of at what scale have we been producing soursop?
Okay, just a quick background on soursop. It is native to the region, especially in South America and the Caribbean islands. If we check the literature, they will say that it's native to the Caribbean islands. I am of the opinion that it came from South America, in that soursop, the wind cannot take the seeds, water cannot take the seeds. So if the Caribbean islands have it and they say it's indigenous, I assume that somebody moved those seeds from place to place.
Yeah.
And if we check our history, we know that the Arawaks and the Caribbean and the Indians originally moved from South America, and they came up to the different islands, and I think that will have to be researched by the historians
And they moved with the seed.
to put history or to correct our history.
Got you. I'll figure
Yes.
it out.
So the soursop is known. It is well appreciated for all the benefits that it has, in that it has all the minerals, calcium, magnesium, you name it, phosphorus, potassium. It is so nutritious, it is compact, it is concentrated, and it also helps with your pressure, your diabetes conditions, in that it regulates the sugar level in your blood. The fiber is so good for, the whole process of
Your bowels.
bowel movement.
Movement.
Yes, in that is a very important function. So, in a few words, soursop should be part and parcel of our diet. We need to eat more.
Well, how has Belizeans gravitated towards this information? Are we generally a country that has accepted the benefits and bought in to the idea?
Definitely, yes. It has always been with us,
Yeah.
but I think that since the past 5 years or so, let us say 10 years, using a rounded figure, but especially so in the past few years when COVID hit us. In that many of you can subscribe to the fact that the doctors basically prescribe vitamin D,
Yeah.
right? And vitamin D is an element which, if you're sedentary, you're not having enough sunlight, enough exercise, then you should take your vitamin D. But if you're physically active and you're out in the sun, your body will naturally assimilate vitamin D. Okay? So COVID taught us that a well-nourished body can actually defend itself against the COVID infection. So many people started to drink their Soursop tea, their fever grass tea, and all the traditional herbs that we had. And all of a sudden we remember that these things exist. We have only deviated from the ways of the past. But COVID came in and it taught us to go back to our roots, to where we came from. So Soursop production then became of interest. And right now, as we speak, the amount of interest expressed on our Facebook page, because we are having a series of trainings throughout the country, and so many persons have expressed interest in growing Soursop that we want to share the information with everybody.
Right. Yeah.
So we have embarked on a trainer of trainers outreach, but at the same time we are training farmers to grow the crop, because we have not been successful per se in the past in growing it at commercial level, in that the amount of pests and disease that has
Ravished it.
yes,
Crop.
that has ravaged the crop, that it became difficult for farmers to produce commercially. And hence the reason why the ministry prioritized Soursop, and the ministry has sought support. We have partnered with other agencies such as FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, such as INIFAP, which is the Mexican Institute for Research. And amongst the collaborators, we are bringing the technical information, the know-how to produce Soursop to the farmers.
Well, what kind of assessment has been done to provide information or hypotheses that this particular product will sell on the regional and international level, the way we do orange, banana, and
All
so
right.
forth?
Via FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, they did their baseline studies, and that is how the topic of Soursop came about. So based on their findings, and part of these trainings that we're doing is also part of the value chain approach that they have taken for us to connect the dots in order to establish Soursop, first and foremost as a food, and second as a business, in that, like I said, not only in Belize, globally, the high-end or the high-performing athletes, because of the electrolytes that Soursop has, is in high demand. The global pandemic has also brought to the forefront that Soursop is good overall for health, and the international demand is there. As it is locally, we have processors in the south, CPBL especially. They are looking at diversification, because you all know that due to the citrus greening, the level of citrus being produced has dropped significantly. And basically, they are looking now at new products to be able to process and commerce with. So it's an opportunity for farmers to be able to sell their products.
So,
But I mean, we have Soursop. We have Soursop ice cream. We have Soursop juice. We have all of these different Soursop products in and around Belize.
Yeah.
Why a training? Why a training for Soursop?
Why a training?
production? Yeah.
In that, like I mentioned earlier, we have a number of pests and diseases which limit farmers' ability to produce. I could name a couple of them. We have, for example, a fungus named anthracnose, right? It ravages the tree especially the leaves, the flowers. I mean, it really damages all aspects of the tree, and hence there's a heavy constraint in terms of how farmers can produce. There is the issue of the pest, the fruit borer. Sometimes you see a soursop, you might see some holes, you might not
Yes.
see it, but when you cut open that fruit, you say, oh man, I wasted my money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially if you're producing at a
Yes,
large scale. What's
exactly.
right now in Belize? What's the production scale like when it comes to soursop?
We have approximately 2,500 acres of soursop in the
Okay.
country by about, I would say, 600 farmers and growing. The figure keeps growing. And farmers would, on an average, produce something like 10 pounds of fruit, which is way below the potential of the crop
10 pounds per
per tree.
per tree.
Per tree,
Okay.
on an average.
On an average.
And of that, the quality of the fruit becomes questionable because of the lack of know-how. So many farmers were hard put to produce a quality fruit consistently. And as such, while the interest was there, the ability how to do it was not. And this is where this project came in, to train farmers to ensure that they have the necessary skills and knowledge to be able to produce.
So
this crop.
let's talk about the training itself,
Yes.
because it's coming close to the 27th, and it will last about 3 or 4
Yes.
days, right?
Yes.
You have the facilitator, Dr. Abel Rebocas, who is a Brazilian expert.
Yes.
How did that collaboration come about?
Yes, like just to retract a little bit, FAO, in that we recognize our inability or lack of know-how, and hence his services was sourced, he was contracted to bring his skills and expertise to Belize. And to be able to capture this know-how, we trained technicians within the ministry so that they can then go out and train farmers in their respective districts. We also went throughout the country, except for the south, and we conducted trainings for farmers and technicians. So this second time around is for him to reach the south, and at the same time repeat some of the trainings that he did, in that we are highlighting some key elements. We are highlighting pruning, which is the first step in terms of how you're going to do your plant protection, in that soursop, while it tolerates water, too much shade and humidity is conducive to the fungus that I mentioned earlier, which is anthracnose. So if you prune the tree, you can shape it in such a way that you improve the aeration of the tree. Breeze and sunlight can pass through, and these are key components naturally, without using too much agrochemicals, to start to reduce or make less conducive the environment for the fungus to propagate and destroy your tree. After you have pruned, then you want to look at, for example, the pollination of the fruit, in that it is, most species are not self-pollinating. You physically have to either have a pollination agent, which is a beetle, but it is not as effective. On a scale of 1 to 10, you will have maybe 4 fruits being properly pollinated. And this is one reason why you will, on the market, you will probably see some fruits that are deformed. They don't look as, that conical look typical of soursop. It was a lack of pollination. And bees do not pollinate soursop. It has to be the beetle. If you hand pollinate, then your efficiency, like I said, from 1 to 10 increases to something like 8.
Wow.
So automatically you then start to see more fruits, better quality fruit, but at the same time you can't stop there. After pruning and you pollinate, you have to take care of that fruit. And this is why soursop is a fruit that whenever you eat it, you should really appreciate it because there's a lot of love that goes into it for the farmers to be able to produce. So you take care of the fruit by bagging, okay?
It's like the bananas.
Yes, yeah, similar.
Yeah.
And then that presents a barrier between the pest and the fruit, so that when you harvest that fruit, it is in the first place reaching its maximum potential
Yeah.
with a very good quality.
You know what I find interesting is that where I grew up, in a village, we never had these technical skills or these training.
Just
It was common to see soursop trees around, but I would imagine they were planted when you just start develop your land. I just say, make a throw up a soursop tree. And interestingly enough, those soursop trees, they grew and they produced really good fruits without all this technical knowledge. But I would imagine that when you're thinking about large-scale production, to reduce your risk, you would want to have the technical skills and knowledge. Of those two questions, of those 2,000 acres, is it right now that it's mainly large companies producing because of the risk and investment that it takes? And what's the ministry's objective in terms of where we want to see production within the next several years?
Okay. The largest farm within the country is in the Cairo district, with about 450 acres, followed by another one in the Belize district with about 200 plus acres. Thereafter, we have the 60-acre block, but the majority of the farmers would own 50 trees,
Okay.
100 trees.
That's relatively small scale,
Yes,
right?
very small scale. In that the fear is that I might invest and not be able to get a profit.
But you're saying there's a way to avoid
Yes.
losing.
And this is why the trainings were prioritized and the feedback has been very, very receptive. Farmers are appreciative of what we're doing. And I mean, it's almost like that announcement for the training has gone viral on our Facebook page. And it shows, it indicates that we're doing something that the farming community has embraced.
Let's talk about the setup of the training. So it's a series of days that you will be having lectures. What should they expect?
Okay. For the trainings, and let me just highlight the dates. On the 27th, the first training will be at Central Farm, right at our soursop plot. And we have opened up the trainings because of the volume of persons expressing interest.
Wow.
So it will be an open participation. Farmers are asked, or participants are being asked to just come, ask your questions, bring a little snack, because for us it is a nightmare to even try to estimate how many persons.
Just give everybody soursop for
Exactly.
eat, sir.
Right? And it will be more field oriented in that the farmers will be, we will demonstrate how to prune, how to hand pollinate, how to take care of the fruit, how do you identify the different pests and diseases, so that they will be empowered to go back. Our technicians, our extension officers will also participate, because after Dr. Bell leaves, we have our own local champions to be able to share the same information for those who want to confirm, ratify, or who are new to farming. We have the in-house ability to share with them the skills and the knowledge. So the 27th, Central Farm. On the 28th, we will go into Stan Creek. The venue will be at the CPBL, the citrus factory compound. They have their field to the back
A soursop
of
field.
Soursop Field,
Okay.
and we'll be doing it there at the Grove. Thereafter, on the 1st, we're going to Orange Walk in Trinidad and we're going to repeat the same process.
They have another
We have a
field up
Soursop
there.
field
Ye-
there
yes,
as well.
yes,
So
yes.
you're targeting this space.
Exactly.
Nice. I like
And finally, we end up in
Second.
Toledo at San Pedro,
What?
Colombia.
And they're everywhere.
You're
Yes.
doing a country tour.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And so Dr. Bill will close off his trainings by doing that last training in Toledo. Now, prior to that, on this, I think tomorrow, we're having, as part of value chain analysis, we're having a symposium with the different stakeholders in Belmopan by the Climate Change Building, so that the findings is a validation workshop in that. Remember I said they did earlier the baseline studies, so this will be brought and shared with the farmers so that we can charter the way forward as to where the country will move, how it will move.
You know, you brought up climate change and disasters, and that's one of the major risks as well. We talk about pruning, we talk about planting and methods for growing. The fact is, we are under threat on a yearly basis
It is.
by these huge storms, by climate events that could wipe out a farm. Is that a factor? So you're telling me that's a factor also being considered and a part of the training process?
Yes. In that, for example, there's a farm in the Belize district, the second biggest one, and that is Ainha.
Yes.
You've heard about Ainha. And they were about to enter into their production.
Before Lisa.
Before Lisa. So
Yeah.
Lisa set them back a bit.
Yeah.
But you know, farmers are the most resilient.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
For some strange reason, farmers are resilient. They have recovered their trees, and now we're looking at very significant levels of production. In that Soursop is a highly adaptable and resilient tree by nature.
Yeah.
You know, so while the breeze, the Hurricane Lisa blew them down, they were recovered and they're about to go into production again.
What is your hope for this large scale production in the aspect that this particular fruit is multi-purpose?
It
use?
is, and it's a high value crop.
Yes.
It is a high value crop. On the local market, you'll find Soursop for $3.50 a pound.
Yeah.
You're going to find it for $4.
But when you go abroad,
Yes, it goes much higher.
very higher.
So you know, it's like it is a profitable crop, provided you do the necessary practices,
Yeah.
all the good agricultural practices, for you to produce efficiently.
So if I'm not a farmer and I'm just interested in growing soursop, can I just attend the training?
Yes, because we have many inquiries like that, simply
Yes.
because some people have it in their yard. They want the fruit, they want the leaf for teas and what have you,
How else can I use
for
it?
their
Yeah.
own food security.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know the number of persons suffering from cancer. Some people want the leaf for tea. They want the fruit to be able to at least not cure per se,
Alleviate some
but
of the pain.
to mitigate the effects of cancer, because probably they're at the higher stages, and there's so Soursop is conducive for that.
Yeah, it's really one of
Yeah.
those superfoods that is taking the market by
By
storm,
storm.
like
Yeah.
coconut water
And breadfruit.
and breadfruit. And
Yeah.
so this is an interesting topic, Mr. Palacio, an interesting training, in fact. And my hope is that with the training, we'll see more farmers get into soursop.
Where can we find more information about the training?
Well, you're talking to the right person.
No,
In terms-
online,
Yeah.
social media,
You
Facebook.
have a Facebook
yeah.
page or somewhere you can go to I don't know,
Find
security
more,
data.
Yeah. Do I have to sign up for the conference?
We
Do I
have
to
shared
sign
the virtual link for the
The training.
symposium tomorrow. In the case of the actual trainings, we'll try to live stream them as best as possible, so that those who have access to internet can
So if I can't physically
yes, you can
attend,
go, you
I
can
can see it
attend
live.
virtually. Yes.
Wonderful. Mr. Palacio, last words as we wrap up our segment this morning.
I really encourage farmers to participate at the different venues. Come, ask a lot of questions. Do not return with doubts in your mind, in that we're here to serve them. We're here to assist as best as possible.
What time does the training begin?
At 9 o'clock, the training will begin. And we are saying 2, 3, but on many instances, it extends because of the level of interest and participation.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for coming in. We look forward to seeing the symposium and the trainings live.
Thank you very much for providing this space to be able to share with our farming community, so that this is part of a win-win situation.
It is.
It is.
Always great having these types of discussions. So with that, we'll take a break. And when we come back, it's all about Women's Month. So we're going from sour to sweet.
Right.
And this is about their agenda for Women's Month in March. So you don't want to miss that one. Stay tuned.
Wow, Paul.